So I'm Dre Davis, part owner of My Walk is Different, and I'm here with,
Sydney Williams, the other part owner of My Walk is Different.
and as well as all my other interviews, I only give people interviews that I feel worthy. Um, this was actually supposed to happen at the beginning of My Walk is Different. Actually, supposed to be the first interview I did when I thought about the series. Wasn't able to do it for reasons that we don't really have to get into right now. So here we go. So what's up, Sid?
Let's do it. Hey.
So the real reason I wanted to do the interview at the beginning because we started this brand together, and it was something that was amazing to do. It was something that's been on my mind. I don't want to spoil it for everybody about the questions that I have for you, so I'm just gonna get into it. So my first question is, what about My Walk is Different made you want to be a part of it?
Okay. What about My Walk is Different made me want to be a part of it? Well, I think first and foremost, first and foremost, I supported you and your vision of the brand. I think that's kind of where it all started. Like I think it's no secret that like this is your like brainchild, your brain baby, and so like and your heart project. And so I think me wanting to support you kind of made me first have an open ear to be like, okay, what is this and where do you see it going? And then I think once I heard more about it, I appreciated the heart behind the brand because I feel like as a young person who's trying to grow in Christ, it was something that me and my peers needed. And I always knew that like you were a leader, I'm a leader, and I didn't really know in what capacity. And I felt like it just gave us a way to kind of um, have a voice amongst the people like that we're trying to see grow. I think we have so many friends and family that are kind of like in the middle of like trying to, strengthen their walk in Christ. And we at the time really were too. And so I think it just it just seemed right. Yeah.
So for the viewers, I had brought I think it was in casual conversation. Me and Sid was just talking about things, and I was at a point in my life where I was wanting to follow Christ, but I also was still living the life that I wanted to live. And if anybody knows about following Christ, that you have to really submit yourself, and give up who you used to be to walk into the person that God's created you to be. So I was in the process of doing that. So when I thought of My Walk is Different, it was for those people that was in that stage of in between. It's kind of, I thought about it as like bridging the gap of the people who are on their way. Because at the time I felt like I was around people and I felt shame. And in my mind, I didn't know what shame of that nature felt like. I thought that people were judging me, but they were very much so trying to get me to see that God wants me to live a life set apart from the life that I've been living. So I remember coming um, home one day and I was talking to Sid and I was like, thinking My Walk is Different. It's a dope clothing brand, and I laid it out to her. And I tell the story when people ask about the brand, but I never really tell it on camera. I don't believe. So I said it to her, and she kind of I don't remember how many days or if it was a week, but I remember her coming back with the EIN and just all of the information, the website, working on the website. So from that day forward, we became business partners. So is that accurate or?
Yeah, no, I think yeah, definitely accurate. And I think I really relate to that feeling of like being kind of somewhere in the middle at that time, hanging in the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of I mean, naturally, I think, what pastor said, like you hang in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get your hair cut. Like a lot of the people you hang around are going through the same thing,
Yeah,
same journey in life. And
exactly.
for that, I think that's a lot of the reason why we resonated with those people at that time in our life. But it just seemed like a lot of the people that were in my circle, in your circle, in our circle together were also people going through the same thing. And so it seemed like the time was just optimal.
I agree.
Yeah.
So my second question I want to ask you, and I want to kind of ask you this a long time ago. So with you being in medicine, how is that conflicting being a believer? And if not, could you kind of explain to the viewers of how that is? Because a lot of people I know that are in medicine can't think past medicine. So I don't know anybody that's a active believer who also study medicine. So how is
Mhm.
that balance?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that like I see Christ as the beginning and the end, the giver of all things. And so with that, I think that the things that we have in medicine, the capabilities that we have are only, by the grace of God that he gave us those things to be able to bless the people in the hospital and the people who need it. So I think that it's a tool that God has given us medicine, but I don't think like it's the end all be all. You know what I'm saying? Like I think even when it comes to like natural healing and other things, I think like Western medicine isn't, the holy grail, and I don't see it as like the God of like, okay, you follow this and you're gonna be healed.
Yeah.
I think they work together, and I think like God has given us these tools to be able to do some of this healing ourselves. Yeah, so I don't really see them as like competing. They really don't compete for me.
Okay, that's good to
Yeah.
hear. Because I have a few people who are in medicine, but they aren't believers. So I've never got an opportunity to ask somebody that is a believer, but also study medicine. So I just wanted to know that. So my next question is: in the last 5 years, what's been the area in your life that's been a struggle to like give to God, and something that you've been wrestling with, and if it make you feel a little bit more comfortable? With me, it was this mindset on what I wanted to do in my life. Right? So, we hear about people in the Bible all the time that God comes into their life and transform them, and now they lived a different kind of way.
Right.
Or even pastor, we use pastor. Pastor said that he didn't think he would be a preacher. Like he didn't want to answer that calling at first, and it took him a little minute to answer that calling, but now he did it, and then the fruits of his labor is sought mine church. So,
Right.
what is something in your life that's been a struggle for you, but God has called you to kind of transform your life in that area?
But God has called me to transform my life in that area.
Yeah, because I know that once you walk into being a believer and coming to God, that it's something that you have to die to your own self. So what has been a struggle or something for you that was a normal for you, that now you think God is kind of telling you to stray away from?
I think actually when I first moved to Atlanta and I first started medical school, I had this like vision of my life. Like everybody have a vision of their life, and I think it was centered a lot around like who I could be, and like how I could get to the top, and how I could be ambitious. So I think it's just God has really over the last couple of years dealt with me about ambition, and like, you know, in some ways I feel like I was being my own God. Like I would look to God, but he can only help me when I call him and I need help. Like, what I'm saying? I was in control of what it looked like, when he was able to help, how he was able to help, like who he was able to help me through. I was like, yeah, no, not like that, God. Or like, I want you to help me, but only to do this.
The
You
way
know what I'm
that you
saying?
need him to help you.
Yeah. And so like I feel like God is really dealing with me in terms of just like trying to take me out of it. I guess it's like it's really being self-righteous. That's what it is, I think, at the core of it. It's thinking like I can do it on my own, and thinking like God is my helper. And I think that's really what I have been learning this season over the last 5 years. It's something I'm still learning, honestly.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge because I think you see it come up in so many different areas of your life. But I think when it comes to medicine, I realized that it was about helping people, but it was a lot about me too. Like, yeah.
That's interesting, because we all in our own way to a certain extent. Um I feel like if we knew everything, then we wouldn't need God. So with us telling him like, oh God, I need help in this area, but
Right.
leave this area over here, because I feel comfortable over here in this
Right.
area, and I want to
Yeah.
stay in this thing. It's something that if not all of us do, most of us do. So I feel like that's something that we all can kind of share with that. So,
And I think it's really hard, especially with my career, because there are things that I do exceptionally well. Like, I'm a good student. Like,
yeah,
I'm good at what I do. Like, I'm good at learning. I'm good at knowing knowledge. And so, in a lot of ways, it could feel like I got it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
okay, no, God, but it has been really hard for me to say the Lord's will over my will, even when I feel like my will is doing well and it's producing what I want.
it's true. Okay, so the next question I got for you is, you've witnessed being proposed to. How was that experience?
Um, the actual proposal.
Proposal.
The proposal was beautiful. Everything about it externally was beautiful. I think now I have some hindsight because obviously I'm not engaged, so now I have a little bit more of hindsight about maybe some of the flaws of the situation. But I think in the moment it felt very blissful. It felt very exciting. It felt like a new chapter. It felt like, oh my gosh, finally.
Yeah.
And then all of my family was there, so I mean that felt good too. It felt like not only a yes for me, but I felt like everybody else was saying yes too. And I feel like that feels good. So I mean, no complaints about how it felt in that moment, but of course I have some things to say now.
So I'm glad I asked that question, because I didn't really have that question, but I thought that would be a good opener for the next question. So the next question I got is, so moving from that build up, how is the separation now from your fiance?
For me, or like how do I feel in the separation is
Yeah,
your
I mean,
question?
I can ask you about nobody else feeling.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I guess I don't know if you asked me about how is the dynamic or how am I doing.
I, I can ask two questions in one.
Okay, both.
Yeah.
So the dynamic is, I'll start with that because that's an easy question. I mean, the dynamic is kind of it's almost non-existent. I think we separated in a physical sense. We separated in all senses, and so for a long time, like us speaking wasn't really a thing. It was here and there. It was more so me trying to catch up with him and make sure he was okay. He wasn't necessarily putting in the effort. I think that, you know, I'm not gonna beat nobody up and make past judgment. What I think happened is that everybody processes things in their different ways, and
Of course.
sometimes it can be easier to process some hurt that you have towards a person by distancing yourself from them, and that's something that I know firsthand.
Yeah.
So I give him grace in that, and so I think that led to a lot of distancing. But that transitions to how I feel, because that caused me a lot of harm, because the way that I deal with things and the way that I, rectify situations. In this situation, it was kind of like I feel like we had a lot of history. I feel like we kind of need to get our relationship together, whether it's a friendship or whatever. And I want to talk about it. And he was going the other way. So that caused me a lot of hurt because it felt like rejection. And so I think that is what I've been most recently dealing with, of this feeling of just like, well, dang, like, why you don't want to talk to me? Why you don't want to deal with me? Why you don't want to try to make sure I'm okay? I'm over here trying to make sure you're okay. So I think, yeah, definitely feeling a lot of rejection in this season. And then also a lot of guilt too, because I know that the separation happened and at the root of it was somebody who was really struggling with their mental health. And um it feels hard to like leave somebody in that, but at the same time, I knew that like I was like slowly dying, and so it was kind of like a self-preservation thing, and that's really hard to kind of reconcile, because it's like, dang, in hindsight you think, oh, I could have took a little bit more, but in the moment you like, I don't want to do this, I can't do this. And so that's been really challenging.
Okay. What do you feel is some advice you can give to somebody going through that? Because we know a lot of people who go through separating from someone that they thought they was going to be with for the rest of their life. So what is something that you could express to somebody that's going through that could help them?
That's separating. Well, first I think let's take a little step back, because I think my partner was dealing with some really strong mental health struggles that came about, and I think that had a lot to do with our separation. Not all of it, but I think it had a lot to do with that. And I think if I was to give advice to myself, like on the front end thinking about that, is I would kind of make sure that when you have conversations pre-marriage and stuff like that, you want to have conversations about things like therapy, or if you need medications, or if you need to be hospitalized. Those sorts of things are actually really important, because we were very misaligned. And so it was like a tug of war. I was fighting him. I'm like, you need to go seek care. You need to go to therapy. And he's like, I don't believe in that. And so it's like, it's hard for us to even come to a middle ground and even kind of work through that when we have two different beliefs. So I wish that we had more of those conversations sooner about how we work through things when like there's a health concern. So that would be my advice with that. In terms of dealing with separation, honestly, I feel like I don't know if this is gonna be an unhealthy answer or what, but and maybe this is my trauma. I feel like you just gotta get busy. That's really what it is. And I don't know no other way, honestly, to get well. And I'm not saying get busy in terms of get to work, but I'm saying fill your time with something. Dating yourself, going to church, being around friends, reading. Like, I feel like my lowest moments was when I had idle time and I was just sitting there and I was like, this sucks. And so I feel like get busy, whether it's walking, figure out whatever your thing is, but I feel like you need to fill in your time until you can handle that time with just you and your emotions, because in the beginning it's heavy.
Yeah, I would also say that in my time of being separated from relationships from back when I was young up until now has been a struggle. So my I feel like my advice would be also to do the same. But I feel like what I did with my life was also fill that gap with God. So a lot of that time that I spent trying to fill it with other things, they were fleeing. So those things always allow me to still come back to these thoughts that I tried to run away from initially anyway. So I think when I'm reading my word and I'm pinpointing what a part of my life do I need help with and I want God to help me with, and I find out the scriptures of that, I break it down to the smallest molecule. And then that's how I get a better understanding of why I should continue to go and continue to live my life because um, I definitely feel like trying to fill it with anything else is it's kind of like a hole with a vac in it.
Yeah.
It'll keep falling through, and you'll keep having this spot that cannot be filled with something. So I think God is the best. I won't even say the good is the
Yeah,
best
definitely.
um, replacement, if you would say, for that.
Yeah. I would definitely agree.
Yeah. So, what is a goal in your life that you feel that you cannot reach if you don't allow God to help you through? So, do you have a goal in your life? It's like this goal is like high. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, and you need to have faith to get there.
I mean, we talking about it being married. Like,
Being married.
like, I mean, I tried on my own. Clearly it
Yeah.
ain't worked none of these times. Like,
Well, let me
and
ask you
it's,
that then. What does that look like doing it on your own?
what does it look like doing it on your own?
But I think a lot of people could resonate with the phrase, but they don't
Yeah.
know exactly what that means. What is trying to, is that going out seeking on your own? Is that not allowing someone to come find you? Because, um, a man is supposed to find a woman.
He is, but like he also can't find you if you in your bedroom with the door closed, like reading a book. Like, so I
Mm.
don't think there's anything wrong with a woman leaving the house with the intent of like, you know, just wanting to be where. Now, I'm not saying like you got to prance around in a little mini skirt at the club, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
like being in a mix of people, like,
yeah.
because you're not gonna, your husband can't find you if he never see you because you just go to the grocery store and go home. So I don't think it's necessarily that for me, but I think when you're in the dating phase, you know when something is not working or when something is not for you and God is trying to tell you, at least even if you don't have the discernment of God, like from having relationship with him, I feel like we have this feeling. You know, people have this
Mm.
gut feeling. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I think that is God. And so when you have that feeling, I think it's trying to force that, like trying to force it, trying to force something to be like, okay, well, how do I work this out? And we just need to learn to be okay with just like leaving stuff where it's at, because that's God trying to protect us and tell us that that's not it for us. And I think also like the timing thing. I think a lot of people are in a rush and have this idea of like when it's supposed to happen or how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And so we start to, you know, we don't have the resources, or, you know, that person is not ready, and we start to try to orchestrate it. Okay, well, like, what if we just do it like this? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Compromising.
yeah, just compromising just for the sake of like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes like we just need to learn how to be still, like in our relationship, in our singleness, and just like allow God to move and speak instead of just doing. And I think that's what it looks like for me, is like just being a part of the process, but like not so active, right? Like if somebody not texting me back that I'm interested in, like what am I texting him 4 times? Like what am I doing that for? You know what I'm saying? Like at that point it's forcing it.
Yeah.
Like so, and I think a lot of times God will try to protect us in those ways.
That's good. Okay, so I've this question here is something that I've also wanted to get into asking you. So I experienced probably how I feel about it is one of the toughest times in your life, right? So losing a parent to me is kind of the worst feeling, right?
Yeah.
And I've witnessed giving you that news and watching you watching you just y'all. When I say that, I gave Sydney her mama gave her the news. I'm gonna give y'all the story real quick.
Yeah, because
I'm at
it's
work.
kind of funny.
I'm at work, and I don't think me and her even spoke about this. I'm at work. Sydney mom calls me like, yeah, I need you to get off work. And I was working at Chrysler. For those that don't know about the big three, I work at Chrysler, and you don't just get off Chrysler. But she was like, I need you to get off work. I'm like, why? And she was like, I need you to meet me in Ann Arbor. I'm like, Ann Arbor, that's about a 40-minute drive. Like if you need me for something right now, it's gonna take me 40 minutes. She's like, no, that's cool. She's like, said dad just passed. And I was like, huh? Like, she's like, yeah, like the way she said it, I was like, I'm not hearing this correctly. So she said it again, and I was like, okay, what you need me to do? She said, if you can go pick her up from work or whatever and bring her home, that'd be cool. So I'm like, all right. So I get off work, I go get her, and it's hard. It was hard trying to not. I don't even know if you looked at me that much when you got in the car, but I'm trying not to look at you because I know that this news.
It didn't register to me.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a regular day for her, but me, I'm over here balling. But I was looking out the window while I'm driving, talking to her, but really wasn't paying her attention. And then we get to the house, and I don't even know if you noticed if your mom was there or whatever. But we get in the house and her sister's there, mom's there, and I don't even know if y'all was arguing. Y'all was just talking loud, and she's like, "You would just sit down so I could tell y'all something." I remember this like
It was just weird. The whole
yeah.
situation was weird.
So when she said it, this woman has no emotion. Like she didn't cry.
I didn't.
She didn't do nothing. So I'm like, that scares me. Like something that
You was thinking like, am I about to like?
I didn't know what to
combust or
think. I
something?
didn't know what to think because I'm sitting there like, if someone told me that my dad or mom, God forbid, passed,
Yeah.
I'd be on the floor.
Yeah.
It takes somebody to get me off the floor. So I've seen you did that, and then a couple weeks go by, and then I seen the emotion of it.
Yeah.
So how is it losing a parent? Someone that you looked up to, someone that you learned so much from.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say I'm laughing because the whole setup was just like, I'm a very observant person, so I'm just like, that's weird. That's weird. Like clocking stuff, like that's weird. Why is she here? She never came up there.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
my mom would never give the effort. Earlier today, she had said she wanted to have lunch with me at my job, and I was like,
Yeah.
at U of like it was just weird stuff. So I'm just like, this is so odd. So as I'm thinking back on it, I'm just thinking like, who thought this was gonna work? This is interesting. Like y'all thought y'all was about to bamboozle me, but how is it losing a parent? I think it's really hard because I think there's moments you envision of your life and you're like, oh, you see, for example, when I got proposed to or when we were planning the wedding and people kept saying like, oh, who's going to walk you down the aisle? And I'm like, I'm walking by myself because I envisioned it with my dad and nobody else. And so like there are these moments in your life where you see your parents serving some sort of purpose or like you like sometimes things happen to me where it's like, oh, something happens good or bad, and I envision myself like, oh dang, I would have called my dad right now.
Yeah.
Or I would have loved to hear my dad's perspective on this. Or just conversations that I kind of imagine us having. And I think it's hard because it's like that will never be.
Yeah.
And there will always be moments for the rest of my life where it's like, dang, it would have been nice to have him here, but like he just won't be. So that's really hard. I think what has been actually harder, the hardest part, I won't say harder, the hardest part has been kind of the way that my dad died, like with it being so abrupt, with like it being kind of a cause that felt like preventable in a way. Felt like, if the events had been different and things had aligned differently, maybe he would still be alive. And I think that kind of what if is actually a really hard cliffhanger to live with because you keep just like replaying those events that happened before he died, or at least I do. And that's really challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. So, all the things that you were able to accomplish after that, the books and the finishing school, and I know he's proud of you,
Yeah.
and I know that that's something that he wanted you to do while he was here. So I know that he's still proud of you. So
yeah,
I commend you on striving and getting through, because something like that breaks people, and some people are never the same from that. So
I mean, I think, I'm never the same.
of course,
really, I'm definitely never the same.
but
and
also
I think,
not stagnated either, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Just because, that's just, I don't know. That's just how I move. I never really been. I just keep moving. Honestly, I don't know if that's a flaw or a strength, a little bit of both. But honestly, that's just how it has always been for me. But I think it definitely has been harder than people appreciate because I'm not necessarily a person that wears my struggles on my chest all the time. Like I'm happy to talk. If you ask me how I'm doing, I'll tell you like, hey, I'm struggling. I don't mind that. But I'm not like in the corner crying. I'm not, like that. So I think it has been hard because it's like, in some ways it has felt kind of like a lonely experience. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So next question I have for you.
Mm-hmm.
What does a successful My Walk is Different look like in the next 10 years to you?
10 years?
10 years.
Wow. So I feel like in the next 10 years, honestly, I just want to have like, dang, 10 years is a long time. Wait.
It's a long time.
I'm like, dang, what's going to happen in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, I feel like how I see it, success, can we think 5 years? 10 years is a long time. And I'm just like, the work could be exponential. Okay. I feel like in the next 5 years, I see like the online presence being strong, and I really want it to be like a community. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
where it's like people are online having conversations, bouncing things off each other, like kind of how people use Patreon now, I guess,
Yes.
where they have like kind of chat rooms and it's like private, Bible studies or private, devotionals or private just conversations, and like people can kind of meet people that way, and also can have like their online people that they grow in God with. So I think that's one of the biggest things I see in terms of that. And then I think that also comes with like people being like proud to wear it on their body. It's like, yeah, like I'm a part of this. And so I associate that when I wear these clothes, like I feel proud and I feel this sense of just like excitement about it. So I see that. And then in terms of like the tangibles of it, I think it will, I mean, we talked about this a while ago, but shoes. I mean, I just feel like
That was
shoes
just on
are
my mind.
fitting.
Yeah.
And I just like, I feel like that's kind of like when I'm like, okay, so we got the clothes, we figured it out, and now we got the shoes. And like, I envision it being a thing where it's like, we don't need to bring other brands to style people for shoots or for videos. It's
True.
like you wearing the shirt, the pants, the glass. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That, and then the shoes complete the fit.
Yep.
So I feel like that's kind of where I see the full thing. And I'm gonna get that 5 years because I'm about to be a doctor. So it's like,
Say that.
yeah,
Say that.
I gotta
So
get some money maybe.
my goals, I would say definitely shoes. If I'm talking about, like you said, tangible things, shoes is probably the highest thing on that level. If I'm saying about the brand, TBN is a great network, Christian network, and I would love to do what I'm doing now on their platform.
Oh yeah,
So,
I like that.
which is originally maybe the second interview I did. It just popped in my head like that would be dope if they allowed me on there and had a segment on there. No matter how long y'all give me, if y'all give me an hour, if y'all give me 2 hours, I'll make it work. But that would be
Yeah.
dope.
Also, like another thing too could be like, how you went to that event, you went up and you asked a question, like something like that, where it's like
Yeah,
this, sitting on the couch, like talking. This is the stage. There's an audience, and like people can come up and be a part of the conversation.
that's dope.
Like in travel, I think that would be dope.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so we at the tail end of the interview. Viewers, y'all know already. I got two segments of questions I always ask. So, because she is the other part owner, I'm still gonna ask her. So the question is, when you hear my walk is different, what's the first thing that come to your mind?
The first thing that comes to my mind is get right. Get right with God. And I think the reason I say that is because like I was just talking to you about this, of just like in this season of my life feeling like a strong tugging of God, of just like what it feels like to be set apart, like being in spaces where I don't belong and feeling physically uncomfortable or feeling anxiety about doing things that I used to enjoy. Like I feel like that is all like this really strong feeling of God being like just whispering in my ear all the time, like you set apart, you set apart. And I think when I hear my walk is different, it's like just a reminder of just how different I am and how I've always had this calling on my life, and I've known it's there and I feel it on a day-to-day basis, and I need to get with it. Yeah. Like I need to get with it, like studying my word, like listening to that voice and like literally allowing God to yank me if he has to, well, I guess going a little bit more willingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last question is, how was your walk different?
My walk is different. I guess kind of how I said, like I've always felt different. Like I've always felt like God has called me to something special. I just never knew what it was. And I think it's still an evolution of like learning exactly what that thing is. But I think with that, I've always felt the pressure that other people maybe haven't felt. And people have always been like, that's irrational. Like it's not that much pressure. Like just do it. But there has always been this pressure of like, not that I just have to do things well, but just that I'm held to a high standard. And I just know that the things I do matter a lot because a lot of people have their eyes on me. Not to say that, like, I'm not trying to hype myself up, but I think it is just that, like, I could just feel the calling of my life. And I just know that the things I do and the things I say and where I go, I know that it matters for other people's walks in a lot of different ways. And so that's how my walk is different.
Okay. Before we end it, I wanted to just think about. So y'all, these are our very first shirts that we did, right?
Yes.
So these shirts are old. I can't even fit them the way I want to no more. So
Cause you gain weight or the shirt too small?
Yeah,
The
getting
shirt
big out
moved.
here, man.
The
Getting big
shirt
out here.
moved down, or you moved
Hey,
up.
both of them, both could be true, man.
Tell the truth.
So these designs that we came up with, like, what do you think? I still love these designs. What do you think about our design?
Okay, so I think we were where we really went well is first of all, like we always talk about the texture of the embroidered
I
shirt.
love the embroidered
Like
shirts.
the
Yep.
texture of the embroidered shirt is lit. The embroidery is lit, and I like
It
the
is.
combination of just like the embroidery in that. I think honestly, this day and age with like just like trendy stuff and just where fashion has gone, it's a little I don't know, it's just not on trend. Like, I think either like where the trends are right now is like either very simple, so very like classic, like one word plaster, or
Right.
like almost all the way like 90s graphic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's either one spectrum. This is somewhere in the middle. So I love it for where we were at that time.
Yeah.
But I think it has some growth. There's room for growth.
It could be revamped.
I think it could be revamped. Yeah.
Okay. What is one thing that we could tell them to look forward to clothing wise?
Hold on real quick. Honestly, I'm thinking like, what if we just like took this part out and just left the embroidery?
Took the middle out?
Yeah.
I like that. That's dope.
I actually think it would be like kind of simple, but still nice. Like
I love the tag though. To still.
I do love the tag.
The tags are dope.
I do love the tag.
So
and I like having a scripture on there.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get to that. But what is something that you think that?
Said you talk too much.
No, I like that. I like taking that out. It's actually dope. But the reason why I originally wanted it to be like this because I know that this had to become a household name.
Yeah.
And in some senses, and that's why we took just a little backstory on why we haven't been producing any more clothing. I decided to take some time off to just produce the social media side, and we're doing good on Instagram. We're doing good on TikTok. We're doing good on YouTube.
Yeah, you're doing a thing.
That y'all should make sure that y'all go follow those things. I'm trying to get us to a certain point on TikTok where I can start going live and doing lives from there. So I need maybe about 400 to 500 more followers on there. Instagram, we cracked 1,000 this year, which was a great thing to do in a year.
Period.
YouTube, the YouTube is doing amazing. I think we had 600 followers on there, and I'm trying to get that to 1,000 so we're able to monetize and create more revenue. So we're able to give you great clothing.
That part.
We already doing those things. But back to you. So what do you think that we could tell the viewers to look forward to clothing wise for My Walk is Different?
Oh yeah, so we started actually. I don't know if this is even public knowledge, but we started producing some athleisure wear, and I wear all the time to Pilates, but we never actually mass produced it. So I think that is like what you have to look forward to athleisure wear.
They've been asking about them shorts too. I wear them shorts too. The shorts is fire. Every time people ask about, they thick too. Like they're great quality shorts.
And they different. I like different.
Dope. Yeah. So maybe we'll put something together for y'all where we have the whole line coming out, and we'll definitely give y'all information on that. But that will conclude the interview. I appreciate Sid for giving us our time.
You didn't ask me if I had any questions.
I'm sorry. I thought you were asking while we talking.
I'm just playing.
No, what you got?
I really don't have nothing. No,
you gotta ask me one now.
I gotta ask you a question. One. Okay. Okay. So what do you feel like has been? So we talked about this break, right? How you took a break, right. How we took a break in production. What do you feel like has been the biggest thing you've learned in that season that will help you kind of grow in this next season?
Anybody who has an idea of creating a clothing brand, be careful about merchandise. Don't give out any merchandise for free. Whatever idea you conjure in your head about what would make a good idea for you giving away, oh, this person has this notoriety, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean that they're going to bring that in for you. So I would say use wisdom when you do things of that nature. But I would say that anything that's left up on the website a year later can still be something that people purchase. Because people are asking about these shirts today, and we've been out of these for a couple months. But people are still asking about these. And when I went to pop-up shops and I'll do certain things, and I had certain people there that I thought had a great big name and a good following, I gave them this. I didn't get anything from that. Only people from Detroit that gave me a great boost, I would say, is DJ BJ. That was amazing when we got that. That video did great online too. Other than that, it's not too many other people that I gave free merchandise to that helped the brand grow. So I would say the one thing I've learned is keep the merchandise. And I guess if I could put 1B to that, it would be to try not to house any merchandise. If possible,
Yes.
always keep it on the website. That way you don't have to deal with it. I love actually going and shipping out things that actually made me feel like I've accomplished something, but that ran its course, and it got to the point where I was mishandling things.
It's
Um,
hard to keep track of all of it. It's a lot of moving
yes, and
pieces.
counting the same things over and over again gets mentally tiring. My
Hmm.
brain hurt for thinking about it. So I would say that's the things I've learned.
But do you have a personal thing? Like, what about, because you took this break for, these, that was two things, right? You took this break for personal reasons as well as
Mhm.
like the business. So, like, what are you learning outside of, merchandising that you feel like is going to help you in this next season?
Man, that if I'm being transparent, that God heals all wounds. If
Mm,
I'm being transparent, there's some things that happened in the last 4 or 5 years um that broke me mentally, that broke me spiritually, that broke me. You can say it took a physical toll on me, and I allowed myself to think lower of myself because I was coming from people that I thought should appreciate me, and they weren't appreciating me the way that I seen fitting. So that made me think that something was wrong with me. So I was saying this time away from that allowed me to understand that that wasn't the case. That in all situations, that if I put God first and acknowledge Him in all my ways, that He'll direct my path. Because honestly, even with these interviews and all this stuff, I didn't know that I wanted to do these things at first.
yeah.
I've always been a person that's willing to get in front of the camera and talk, and I would love to say articulate, but some people wouldn't say, but I would say. So
Eloquent.
that's all that matters. I use that. That's a better explanation. But I would say that, yeah, definitely this time got me closer to God and helped
Well, that's
me to
good.
not doubt Him. In many ways, I doubted Him, so it helped me not to doubt Him. So with that, we could be able.
Okay, well, I got one more thing to say. I really do got one more thing to
That's
say.
crazy. Go ahead.
Okay, because you just said that, and I feel like we sitting here and like,
Hmm.
you know, we on camera. You can cut this out. But the elephant in the room is that we were dating, right?
Hmm.
And so, like, I don't think that's really a secret. The people know that, right? I know that. And then when you said that, it kind of like, so I feel like this is my opportunity to, and I don't think, I'm not saying that it's about me, or I'm not saying it's my fault or whatever. But anyways, let me just say what I have to say.
Hmm.
I just want to apologize. Like, I feel like, maybe we've had conversations about like everything that happened or whatever, but I feel like that was a good opportunity for me to apologize for the role I had in like
Hmm.
you having to even heal and you having to even think those things about yourself, that like you're not enough or you're not good enough or like
Hmm.
any of that is crazy. And I think you know that now, but
Yeah.
like on the other side of like you haven't healed and me growing and the things that we've gone through in the interim, I just think it's important for me to, in front of the people, in front of you, in front of God in the church, say that I sincerely really do apologize. And I think you're great. I have nothing but love for you.
Well, I
And it had
appreciate it.
nothing to do with you.
I appreciate that because it was times where I needed to hear that, and I needed to hear it from you.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say God heals all wounds.
Hmm.
It caused me not to have any negative thoughts towards you,
Yeah.
because initially that wasn't, I couldn't say that,
Right.
so it definitely helped me grow and look at the situation like, just because that transpired didn't mean that what we produce, My Walk is Different, is an amazing brand, and she loved to say in 5 years. I would say in 10 years, I would love it to be a household name, something that people think about, like a Nike, like a Adidas, like a whatever you could throw out there. So
Yeah.
that produced this. This part of my
Hmm.
life had to be done. We often ask God to grow us in ways, and then when He grows us, the things we go through we think are unbearable, But He put us through these things to get us to the point that we are now. And if God told us that we had to go through certain things to get to the point where we get to the things that we've asked for, we wouldn't want those things.
Yeah.
So He's matured me in those ways. So I do appreciate you saying that, though. That was big of you to do so, because people would take things like that to the grave. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. No,
So,
I was wrong in some ways. Yeah, like, go catch me. Okay.
but I do appreciate you for stopping by.
Yes.
Make sure that y'all follow Sydney. What's your handle, Sid?
I'm at Sweet Dose of Sid. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Hopefully, I'll be on YouTube soon.
Mm-hmm.
At Sweet Dose of Sid.
So anybody that's been following the brand, make sure y'all go over there and support her and everything that she does. Future doctor, like she said, so she's doing amazing things. Um, And yeah, man, I appreciate y'all for sitting with us for another interview. My walk is different. It's definitely going to continue to produce interviews and continue to do bigger and better things. So just make sure that y'all
Factual.
stay on the outlook or lookout. I can take back what I
Look
said
out.
about
Yeah.
being articulate and all that stuff. But
No, you're
anyways,
good.
y'all make sure that y'all look out for the future things for My Walk is Different, and we appreciate y'all.
See ya.
I got something to lose, something to prove. You think you can do what I do, then walk in my shoes. You think you can do what I do, then walk in my shoes. Yeah, y'all barely move, I'm kinda confused. I got something to lose and something to prove. You think you can do what I do, then walk in my shoes. You think you can do what I do, then walk in my